Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Alamjeet Flora, your host for the Wednesday talk show brought to you by Pothos Events, Sweden. Today, we are going to be talking about three nature of humankind, that is Satva, Rajas, and Tamas. We are all made of these natures, all of us, all humans. But how we are in balance, that affects our life and the decisions we take, and lots more. Today, we are going to be talking to a very interesting person who's already doing a lot of work in this line. He is Mr. Santosh Srivastava. He's joining us from India, Mumbai. Santosh is also a co author of the book, The Gita Way. This book dwells deeply into the timeless wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, and it offers profound insights and in unlocking your strengths. So today we are going to be talking much more to him. Let's ask him about how we can better our life and what we can do to make it more meaningful. Let's invite Santosh Srivastav today on the Wednesday Talk Show. Hello, sir.
Hi,
How are
Alamji.
you?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. And we're so
Thank you
glad to
so
have
much
you
for
on the.
inviting me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, today we have chosen a very interesting topic, and thanks to you, we are going to understand ourselves better, maybe our peers better, and maybe, look at life very differently. So, thank you so much for this. And before we begin, please introduce yourself, what you're doing, and your book, which is so interesting, The Gita Way. Can you please tell us about it?
Of course. So, good evening to the viewers of Authors Events. Um, let me introduce me in connection of this talk. So, I'm the co-author. I say a contributor to small work in the name The Gita Way. It's written jointly with my wife Shweta. Um, this is a result of my association with Bhagavad Gita for many years, from very early childhood age. So it is you may consider like as a personal interest to understand the spirituality, and later on when I grew up, I also tried to understand the science behind the spirituality, and that led me to understand Gita in detail. Read many times, and we, along with my wife, interpreted some wisdom, which you know came took shape in the form of this particular book, which was released in 2016, and
Mhm.
presently the third edition is on digital platform, various
Wow.
platforms across the media. So this is about the book, and about me. I stay in Mumbai. I work with Larsen and Toubro presently. I stay with my wife and 12 years old daughter in Mumbai. Basically, I'm from UP, eastern part of UP, Gorakhpur. The name of the place is Gorakhpur, where I born and brought up. So it's a small introduction. Would love to discuss in detail if otherwise this entire talk will go in my introduction itself. Let me give you some perspective on the book actually. So this book is
Yeah.
not, I'm just trying to clarify that, this book is not the is kind of interpretation of Bhagavad Gita or chapter wise discourse of Bhagavad Gita. So please don't misread it,
Yeah.
those who are not aware of this particular book. So what we've done is we've tried to interpret in a context. The context is that the human goal. We talk about much, in Indian spirituality or
Yeah.
Sanatana Dharma or Vedic philosophy says moksha is our goal. So we try to understand this moksha. It's also represented in Gita in many places. So concluded in chapter 18, but also introduced at many places, and we try to interpret what is the real meaning. And one of the very important meaning which we all know is that moksha is actually the realization of supreme goal or supreme purpose or supreme spirit with the God,
Yes.
basically like internalization with God. And if internalization with God is the supreme purpose for humankind, then we try to interpret the entire Gita, understanding if we replace all shloka with, the word God from the supreme purpose, then how the meaning unfolds. So this
Right.
is all about the Gita. And after doing so, we found around 100 shlokas that creates a complete story of understanding inner strength, understanding your own core, understanding your own individual purpose here, on which we are good, and then utilizing knowledge of yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, or yoga of devotion,
Yeah.
to realize it, and then also utilizing yoga of liberation, which also Bhagavad Gita deals in detail in later chapters, to to align the individual goal with supreme purpose, some bigger objective for which this individual goal appears in our life, and
Yeah.
also the kind of framework to check whether our individual purpose is actually righteous purpose or not. So this is all about the Gita way, starting from identification of self,
Mhm.
identification of goal, and understanding the various tools, methods prescribed in Gita to realize those. So this is in nutshell
Very
all about
interesting.
the book.
Very interesting for someone, who it's a good introduction to what Gita could have in store, and how someone could be helpful with understanding spirituality maybe, and understanding the ways of life. So very, very nice. Today we are going to be talking about three topics, that is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So what are these qualities? Let's just introduce them to our audience.
Yeah, sure, sure. So basically, these are, I mean, you must have heard about these terms. I'm 100% sure these are very common terms.
Yeah.
Uh, but we have, I think, we have interpreted it many ways. Understanding the sattvic food, tamasic food. The
Yes.
way we wear clothes, or the way uh, we behave in society. So we've interpreted in many ways, many good ways, I must say, but I
True.
still feel there are many aspect of these three qualities needs more understanding, more uh, uh, understanding from little core of these. I say understanding from the purpose behind these. So
Okay.
that's why I mean this particular topic excites me a lot, and this is one of the complex topics in the
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita from my perspective. So I'm just telling this complexity from my perspective. Maybe it could be easy for someone. Why
Yeah.
I'm saying complex is it creates a many conflicting situation, and Gita also says that these three modes of nature is actually the entire shrishti is the entire
Evolve.
world has come out of these three natures, and we are also part of the same,
Hmm.
and Gita also says that it's very difficult to differentiate among these. Which one is sattva, which one is rajas, and which one is tamas. So, and this lack of differentiation creates kind of delusion, and that is where this understanding is required, and the purpose behind this understanding and link of this understanding to the yoga of karma, yoga of knowledge, and yoga
Yeah.
of devotion is something I would like to explain in this talk. Uh,
Can I share your slide, Santosh, over
yeah,
here?
please.
Yeah.
So let, let
Yes.
me let me introduce this topic first, and then we can have some more detailed
Yeah.
discussions on this.
Yeah.
So this first slide is actually outline of the book, the Gita Way, which I briefly already explained.
Yeah.
So the book talks about knowing self, which is actually understanding inherent qualities, inherent nature. In Sanskrit, it is also called Swabhav, and then using yoga of knowledge, yoga of karma, and yoga of devotion to both know individual purpose and realize individual purpose. Then
Hmm.
yoga of liberation to align individual purpose with universal purpose, which is a continual purpose. So in universal purpose is something which will never end. It's continuous, like truth. Truth is a purpose which has no beginning, no end. you
Yeah.
know is
True.
like something like that. So we have to understand this entire alignment with the self. We chase materialistic goal,
Yeah.
whether those materialistic goal has some connection with any universal purpose or not, we don't know. And that
Hmm.
is where Gita helps and align our karma, our knowledge, our devotion in a righteous direction.
Correct.
So this is just an outline. I'm not going much detail.
Hmm.
Let's go to the topic of today's discussion.
Yeah.
So three modes of nature: sattva, rajas, and tamas. And I've just picked up few shlokas, not all. There are dedicated chapters on this. So these terms or these gunas are actually introduced in chapter 7, okay, and where the problem statement is actually defined. So chapter 7 says, like Krishna is saying that Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are created by me, but I am
Okay.
not in them. They are in me. So it's little, need
Yeah.
more understanding. Someone is saying I have created, but I am not in them, but they are in me. you know.
Yeah.
So it's like
True.
I'll to explain this. I'll give a simple example, a kind of allegory. Like it's like fire. Fire is used for as a purification agent. When we convert coal into gold, and in some authentic form we use fire, and the same fire is also destroyer. It can you know
Yeah.
eliminate everything.
True.
Same fire is also used to cook food, which is actually we use as kind of pleasure for us, plays for taste actually. So
Mm.
this is the example. The gold, the purification process is sattva. uh, the taste is rajas, which is pleasure, and the the devastation is tamas. You know,
Right. Yeah.
but and it's all done by fire, but none of this is actually fire. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you try to understand from the essence perspective, so this is exactly what Krishna is trying to say. And uh, in chapter 7 itself, it also says that whatever whatever we perceive from these gunas
Mm.
actually creates delusion, because the difficulty is to recognize them. So this is one
Yeah.
of the challenges, that we don't know what is sattva, what is rajas, and what is tamas. So that is where the understanding is required. Okay.
True.
Then you go to chapter 14. Chapter 14 is a complete chapter dedicated to this topic, uh,
Mm.
where you'll find the definition of sattva, rajas, tamas. I'm not going into much detail. In next slide, I've tried to simplify it for the purpose of this talk, because we have limited time.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would like to add one conclusion, which is given in the chapter 14, is actually again in the context of moksha. Uh, our ultimate goal is not sattva also. Even sattva is not our goal. The ultimate
Mm-hmm.
goal is to having transcendented from all these three gunas as well. So we have to
Okay.
move on from even sattva to
Okay.
realize the ultimate freedom. Okay, we'll discuss that in some context. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah.
This slide is interesting, and this is where you know the interpretation is discovered from chapter 7, chapter 14, and chapter 18, where
Mm-hmm.
one more time sattva, rajas, and tamas is explained with purpose behind it. Okay, so I've just created a simple table just to explain the three modes of, the three methods prescribed in Gita. There are three ways we can achieve moksha: by karma yoga, we can achieve moksha by, pursuing knowledge,
Knowledge.
and also by bhakti yoga, the devotion. So all three has these qualities. So we'll try to understand. So sattva is basically from the purpose of doing karma or performing karma is duty centricity. So it's
Mm.
basically duty. Best example comes to my mind is actually affection of mother to her child is
Yeah.
is is the duty, which is unconditional. There's no
Right.
condition it. There's no consciousness. There's no planning that I have to do something. It comes in auto mode. It is, I mean, it is the real definition of duty centricity. I don't have any other,
Better.
parallel examples,
Yeah.
where I can give. All other examples are, we can say what ought to be done in certain situation can be termed as duty, but still you have some thinking what ought to be done. When thinking comes, some judgment come, and judgment is decided by someone, whether you're deciding by mind, again Gita defines that how to decide, or by
Yeah.
your intellect, or by your consciousness. So there also some element of error is there, but
Mm-hmm.
still the second best definition of duty centricity is what ought to be done. Thinking of natural justice in certain situation is sattva. Rajas is just where 99% of us are, is pleasure of senses. So whatever we do is actually we are trying to please ourselves in
Mm.
some or other way. So
Correct.
whether whatever professional goal I've joined recently, Larsen and Toubro. It is also basically I'm doing for me and my family. Is basically Rajas. Okay,
Yeah.
I may discover this particular opportunity for some sattvic purpose, but
Mm-hmm.
this is again a possibility. But mostly, Rajas is directed towards individual purpose, individual goals, or uh, purpose which actually gives gratification to ourselves, our senses, our pleasure to our senses. So I just try to give this name, pleasure of senses, is
Hmm.
basically Rajas. And Tamas is absolutely very clear, is hyperaction. Any shortcuts, any we want to achieve something for ourselves only, certain selfish goals,
Hmm.
immediate, or
Hmm.
inertia or inaction, we are not doing anything. So
Right.
both outlier things are tamas. So this is very interesting. Okay, I mean these are defined in chapter
Yeah.
18 in little detail. Now
Correct.
I mean this is the differentiation which actually chapter 7 gives this problem, that okay, this is the difficulty for humankind to understand what is
Yeah.
sattva, what is rajas, and what is tamas. And it is concluded in chapter 4, 14 and 20, that you understand the purpose of karma. The
True.
moment you have certain purpose, you have clear differentiation whether you are sattvic or not.
Yeah.
Similarly, there is a purpose of knowledge. If I
Hmm.
am, you know, acquiring knowledge or seeking knowledge, uh,
Hmm.
create wisdom for me, which is actually helping in my duty centricity, or whether I'm seeking knowledge to know the supreme, is actually sattvic. But
Yeah.
if I'm developing my intellect for only for my goal, only for my pleasure of senses, only for my success,
Hmm.
then it is rajas. And if I'm developing ignorance, so I'm intellect enough, I have developed my intellectual in such a way that even if I know what is right or wrong, I create ignorance and I accept wrong even after knowing, is actually tamas. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Hmm.
it is absolute ignorance. Uh, theory of natural justice say, if we close our eyes and ask ourselves, we always get right answer. But even if
Right.
we ignore that right answer, it is ignorance. So knowledge is
Yeah.
there, but we are ignoring it. So that is tamas, absolutely tamas. And the purpose of devotion is unconditional faith. Again, same example of mother and child relationship is unconditional, and it is one way from mother side to child, uh,
Yeah.
without any expectation whether child will reciprocate in same way or not in future. So this
Yeah.
is unconditional. And if this faith is in supreme purpose, it is sattvic purpose of devotion. And similarly, rajas is routine. It creates some discipline, mundane activity on daily life, but it comes with conditional faith. So we worship, but we have certain condition in our mind, certain purpose in our mind, even if we do some worship or certain sort of any practices or faith or rituals. Tamas is again outlier thing, doubt in everything. So I don't have any stand. So I don't have any unconditional faith, and also I don't have any kind of conditional faith. So I'm absolutely doubtful. So doubt
Yeah.
in anything is tamas. So I mean this is the beauty of this three modes of nature. We are in, again the same example of fire. Uh, we are the fire. We are the energies. We can create
Yeah.
gold. We can purify the objects whatever we want to create in this life, and we can also destroy whatever comes to our paths. And also we can use this fire for our own senses of pleasure. So so we have to utilize our energy. And the topic is like, this also suggests that we have to transcend from tamas to rajas to sattva, and even from sattva for ultimate
Yeah.
purpose. So this is called continuous improvement, and which starts with differentiating these, understanding what is tamas, what is rajas, what is sattva. All
Yeah.
waste is tamas. All duty centricity, what ought to be done, is in certain situation is sattvic, and rajas is in between, is you know wherever we are seeking our individual purpose, is rajas.
Yeah.
So I hope I introduce the topic in little hurry, little nutshell. I'm not sure whether everyone has got a sense of it or not.
No, I would like my audience to ask questions because if there is anything that we can clarify, it will be great.
Yeah.
So the
Okay, I would
viewers,
like to.
you all are
Yeah,
free to
sure.
put in
So
your questions.
one more aspect I would like to add. So, although See, if you see, I've written differentiation of continuous improvement,
Mhm.
differentiation for continuous improvement. I've used another word, conscious differentiation for continuous improvement. So I would like to
Yeah.
show the next slide
Yeah.
to
So
the
what I
audience.
understand also, Santosh, here, like, we also use every, Satva Rajas and Tamas are prominent, like, they become very dominant in our life at different places. Like, sometimes one is dominant over the other, and then it just makes us move to the next step in our life.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what Krishna says. I mean, entire whatever object we see, whatever object we perceive, and whatever object we have. I mean, we are also kind of uh, the part of the Srishti is made
Yeah.
of all three, and which interchanges
Yeah.
from one state to another state. So you're absolutely right. All we need is to just know, just observe these. That's it. The
Hmm.
moment you rightfully observe it, you'll have a clear cut direction which one is to, I mean, which one is doable and which one is avoidable.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't observe.
Yeah, we are very unaware sometimes of what we are doing, and what these actions could then, what the consequences could be.
Yeah. So here
Yeah.
is another caution which Gita suggested at different places, not exactly in the context of Sattva Rajas, in the context of Karma Yoga and again realization of the larger purpose, that we should also understand who's actually controlling ourselves. So,
Yeah.
so there's a shlok. I mean, chapter 3, verse 42 says there's a clear cut hierarchy. Mind is above body, intellect is above mind, and conscious self is above everything. So
Hmm.
if real self, conscious self is the real self, if we are driven by our conscious self, we would be able to judge in a better situation. I mean, if we have to differentiate between two, we would be able to differentiate in a better way
Right.
than the ego, mind, and body, which is actually part of ego. You know,
Yeah.
intellect, mind, and body is nothing but our ego, which we feel we define ourselves as I. When I have to define, I'll define my body, my mind, and my qualification, my intellect, my profession, which is part of ego. Actually, we don't know about anything about our real self. So Gita also emphasizes on understanding that part as well, which is there but hidden somewhere.
Correct. Yeah. But then how does one, like, get over this ego?
Yeah, so
What are
that is yeah, so this is the most difficult part,
hmm.
that is where the entire Gita is the answer, in part, in totality.
Yeah.
So if you see the story of Gita, in a chronological manner, Arjun says it to Krishna that,
Hmm.
bring me to the middle of the battlefield. Field. I want to see who's there from the Kaurava side to fight with me, which actually is the representation of ego. He's saying that I am doer. I'm going to fight and win for my team. Okay,
Okay.
and Krishna
Yeah.
says that, and Krishna creates a situation where Arjun comes to a situation where he is, giving up his Gandiva, and the entire Gita episode starts. Why
Yeah.
Krishna provoked him? Actually, Krishna provoked him by showing them, see Arjun, they are Kuruvanshis. So he uses specifically this word Kuruvanshi to trigger something in his mind, to think that he is going to fight his own people. And why Krishna did? Because he wanted to make sure that he is not actually doer. He is
Hmm.
actually performer of some supreme purpose. So this is the difference. Gita, if I have to summarize in some simple words, we feel that we are the doer, all of
Yeah.
us in some or other way.
Yeah.
If we just shift our this thinking to the fact that we are not doer, we are actually performer of
Yeah.
some, we are playing some role in much larger purpose, we are performing our duties, then the dilemma of, Arjun, giving up Gandhi will go away. And
Hmm.
just keep in mind that Arjuna, it's not that the Arjuna discovered that he's going to fight his own brothers or family members in the middle of battlefield. He was always aware of this fact. It was
Yeah.
not something new. But why it has happened at the middle of, just before the fight, just before the Great War, it is something interesting to know, right?
Okay.
So
True. No, very interesting to just keep listening to you, the way you're
yes.
explaining this. So yeah,
So,
of course, he
so,
was in
so
that
to answer
dilemma.
your question, to realize conscious self is difficult. The
Hmm.
sages for ages did it in, they researched actually in mountains, understanding the supreme consciousness. Some discovered, some may discovered, maybe we don't know what is the real discovery, but
Yeah.
it's not so easy. But the
Hmm.
easier part is understanding your own self, your own nature, your own inherent qualities, and easier part is to understand your own connection to the supreme.
Yeah.
Supreme. If you're a non-believer, try to understand with, try to align yourself with some larger purpose. That's it. and
Ex-
uh, and we are not the doer. I mean, there are many examples. I gave the example of Arjuna. I mean, we have daily life examples. Suppose if I'm driving car, I feel I'm driving the car, but it is I mean, I'm actually in the complex algorithm. And I'm just using word algorithm.
Yeah.
We're in
To
a
relate
complex
to today's world.
algorithm of karmas done by everyone in
Mm.
present, in past. So I'm driving
Yeah.
on a road which is done by some engineer in some mindset someday in past, whether he has
Yeah.
done something bad, good, actually going to benefit me or harm me while I'm driving. And what I'm thinking is actually I'm the doer, I'm in control of driving. So this, we are actually not doer. This is
Yeah.
proven even in Gita chapter 18. Krishna says there are five elements which gives us results. Four of
Yeah.
them are related to our karma, mind, body, the senses and all those things. And fifth, he says, is the prarabdha, which we generally term as luck. But luck, if I interpret in the language of the Gita way, the framework I discussed with you,
Yeah.
is nothing but a complex algorithm of all cumulative karma done by everyone, including matters, nature, in
Yeah.
past till now.
True. True.
So we can't solve that algorithm. So that is why, uh, don't
Yeah.
never think that you are the doer. If you are thinking that, you must be very superhuman to think, to dare to think that you are the doer.
Very true. Very true. I've come to realize, like, more I know about Gita and the other scripts that I read, the more I know that, it's just whatever comes to you is you just keep doing it because, of course, you're not the doer, and there is a purpose that you are given a certain role in this world to play, and meet people like you for me and learn so much more. So
Yeah.
great. So thank you so much. You explained so well about Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, and that presentation. I think for people who are getting to know for the first time, it's very nice. You've rightly
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
explained everything. So thank you for that. That is your effort, and thanks. So these qualities that you have explained, how does it influence a human life and like today's world? Um, Thank God we can talk about this topic today, and people are more receptive to it than past few years. So what do you think, how do these influence the human life?
So let me extend from where we've just discussed the other part, like whether I'm the doer or I'm the performer.
Yeah.
In either case, I need to know what needs to be done, what ought to be done, and that is where understanding of these qualities comes. So you know uh, these modes of nature, or sattva, rajas, or tamas, understanding or differentiating these is has some context, deciding what is right for me, what is righteous duty for me.
Yeah.
If I'm seeking certain knowledge, what is the purpose of that knowledge? Whether I'm doing this for some tamasic activity, or I'm seeking certain knowledge. So knowledge is also creating atom bomb, and knowledge is also creating some constructive activity, which is good for humanity. So, uh, again, the differentiation is same. If whatever part of ego, it has a purpose, and purpose should be differentiated, whether it is righteous purpose or not. So understanding of these qualities actually guides us, you know uh, 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 what needs to be done. That's it.
Yeah.
So whether I'm right or not, whether I'm whatever decision I'm taking, we are taking decision every day, whether
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
in family or in business or in our profession. Uh, so whether we are taking right decision or not, it is
Yeah.
just simple differentiation, some framework. It's like rules. Okay, these three rules are given by our Vedic text. Let's try it. So whether whatever I'm doing should not be tamasic for my profession or for my organization if I'm working with. So whether it is sattvic or not, so whether that decision is right decision for the larger purpose of my organization. I'm just giving a professional example for that matter.
Yeah.
So this is so helpful. If we apply in our daily life, it is actually helpful. It's not
Yeah.
only limited to choice of food or choice of clothes we wear. Trust me, it is much beyond that.
Yeah. But when you join a profession and all, it's very individualistic. Uh,
Yeah.
I think rarely someone will think about about how the company is going to perform. It's so individualistic driven that I can buy a car now, I can buy a house now, and I can do
So
this is going to
on,
fulfill the
but
materialistic.
I know.
Uh, so what
So
you're
here,
saying, yeah, it sounds very good, but people are going to say that, oh, really? Like, so
so for those, I'll just remind them. Our average age is in India is approximately 70 years, and we spend 35 years, which is
yeah,
50% of our life in our professional career. Whatever business pursuit or professional pursuit which we choose, we spend 50% of our lives. And if
correct,
you are living in ignorance for 50% of life, it's your ultimately your choice. So
correct.
my suggestion is, with my humble suggestion is, these frameworks are actually helpful. Try it, and then
Hmm.
decide whether it should be used in continued version or not.
Yeah, true. And I would also like to remind that when you keep these aspects in life, you're actually more progressive.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when you're not thinking like that, you're
I
actually more
agree.
progressive and you are actually more beneficial and it's more satisfying when you work with this mindset. So I hope everyone thinks like that. And this is a very good guideline. We have Gauri. She has, commented our action in ignorance and karma unknowingly or knowing. Okay. So I think on what you were discussing, maybe she has put in her two words. So thanks, Gauri, for that.
Yeah.
Uh, so we are discussing on this, and should we always be conscious about our karmas and our actions? And what worries me is seeing today's world. There's so much war, especially I'm talking like we are in Sweden. So between India and Sweden, actually, there are two wars going on at the moment as we speak. uh, so it's like, is this karmic, or why should we get little more conscious about how we are dealing with this world? What's your take?
Okay. So there's two answers to it actually. I mean, again, I'll have to give some context to it.
Yeah, yeah,
So Gita simply says, if you go to the essence of Gita, answer is very simple. Gita says, you must be aware of. I mean, everyone knows about this shloka, karmande vadikaraste mafaleshu kadachana.
yes,
Immediately after that shlok, Krishna also suggests what needs to be done. On one hand,
yeah,
Krishna says, don't contemplate the fruits or result. But what needs to be done is actually given immediately after this shlok, where he is saying, Yogast Kuru Karmadi, which
yeah,
means uh, perform your duty in the state of yoga. And if I have to summarize entire Gita in some phrase, it is this: Yogast Kuru Karmadi. Entire Gita says same thing.
mm-hmm.
From chapter 2 to chapter 18, we will learn. I mean, Gita says same thing repeatedly in some or other form, or proves this thing, that ultimate goal is Yogast Kuru Karmani. We have to perform our duty in the state of yoga, and if
Yeah,
we are in a state of yoga, we are indifferent to the gains or loss, pleasure or aversion. I mean,
yeah,
all the opposites are actually indifferent if I am in the state of yoga, which
right,
is actually the teaching of Gita. If I am in that state, so answer from Gita is simply no, that we should not be conscious. Okay, but practically, okay. So I'm giving the second version of the answer, because we are also human beings. It's not
yeah,
so easy to be so ascetic and control our consciousness in such a way that we are indifferent to even our own karma or our own thinking. So it's very
mm,
difficult to achieve that state. So
true,
this solution is actually again duty centricity. We need to understand what ought to be done in certain situation. This is something which we have to decide, And again, I mean, in the presentation we discuss about hierarchy of control. So
Yeah.
who's actually deciding? That is another part. Whether my mind is deciding for pleasure of senses, or my intellect is deciding for my individual goal, or
Hmm.
whether my consciousness is deciding for some certain bigger objective or supreme purpose. So this
Yeah.
is something which will come from practice, and there's no defined practice. So there's no rule. Okay, you start from morning to evening and do such and such thing, and you'll achieve how to use your consciousness to decide something. This will come only from realization, and realization will come only from observation. So just keep observing you, keep observing your mind, your thought, your thinking, what is
Yeah.
coming next, and decide yourself. Follow theory of natural justice. Close your eyes, and you'll get the answer. There's no rocket science behind this.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. We generally ignore this practice, but we know that.
Yeah.
Everyone has experienced this, but we ignore it. Generally, we ignore it.
Conscious. Yeah. True. True. True.
So I hope I try to answer. I gave answer to your question, whether we should be
Yeah.
conscious of karma or not.
Yeah, exactly. No, you did put focus on how we should look and how, detachment helps and works. So yeah, like we get that point, but the thing is that we still learning how to keep ourselves detached from things, because expectations is what runs us very often. We are so flawed in our ways that firstly we are not very conscious of all our actions, and secondly, expectations are that just bog us down. We have to overcome that, and like you said, firstly to know that we are not the doer, and when that comes into force, I think all these things start working in a
It
line in.
simplifies, actually. It simplifies. So
Yeah,
just a disclaimer, I'm also practicing it. I'm also
yeah,
trying to discover
exactly.
this. So it's not like that, I'm the evolved human being and giving
Yeah,
lecture to everyone, to your audience. So
we
so
are all
I
learning.
discovered in the form of knowing this from Gita, but
Yeah,
to achieve, to realize this, I also need to practice, and I'm practicing it. I mean, let me give this submission. I'm practicing it
yeah,
in my daily life.
yeah. Like I understand from the Bhagavad Gita, also we are all reincarnations. So I speak a lot on this in our show. So we are going to get a lot of chances, but let's make this one the best one. So just a, what do you say, a process of learning. So we are constantly facing challenges in life. So how do we look at things when we can be like get into this negative frame of mind? So how do we look at even the challenges that we may face?
Yeah. So this is interesting question because uh, we are in human life, and we can't get rid of challenges or uncertainties that will come,
Yeah.
that may come in future or even present. Um, See, again, Gita has the answer. So again, I would say, any part you take, any part of the Gita, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 6. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just speaking like chapter 14, or uh, even if you're not reading entire Gita, just read chapter 18. Chapter 18 summarizes everything written in from first to 17 in some other form. Actually, in
Hmm.
the context of Sattvic Tyag, it explains entire Gita one more time. So
Okay.
if someone wants to learn essence of Gita, just read chapter 18, the last chapter.
Okay.
Okay, and you have the answer. Answer is very simple. Let me explain it. Any challenges or uncertainties, why we say negative is because we are contemplating results, some
Hmm.
unfavorable outcome out of that. Otherwise, it's not a concern. If some challenging task is coming in my way and there is a favorable outcome, this question will not exist. So we are
Hmm.
concerned only on unfavorable object,
Right.
unfavorable results. That is why this question comes. I mean, if I'm interpreting your questions correctly. Okay.
Yeah. Like we
So
don't look at a challenging thing that this
so
could be
so
favorable.
yeah, 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 of course. Of course. So this is where and the entire Gita says the same thing. I mean, don't contemplate about the results. If
Hmm.
you really feel, that you're the performer of you're performing a role in a larger purpose,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all what would be the outcome of your performance. You know, it
True.
doesn't matter at all. You have a limited time in the sense our body is a clock. Is
Hmm.
the moment we born, the clock has started, and the moment we die, the clock will stop. So this time exists till the time this body exists.
Yeah.
Beyond this body, time doesn't exist. Gita says it that we are nitya. The atma, paramatma, and matter in the entire universe is actually nitya. It's always there. It's always there in continual form. There's no beginning, there's no end. So for
Hmm.
all of us, we don't have any beginning, we won't have any end. Okay,
Yeah.
so you remove this body, which is a clock or time in between, so there's
Right.
no concern at all. So why should we worry about any unfavorable outcome? So
Correct.
today I was listening to PM Modi's speech to Asian Games, and he said one very important thing which actually struck my mind. He was
Hmm.
addressing to the group of sports person, and he was saying, I always believe that in any sports you all either win or you learn. You
Yes.
don't lose
Nice
anything.
one.
So
Yeah.
life is also like that. Life is
True.
also exactly like that, because I correlated with Gita because this talk was going to happen this evening, and I was
Hmm.
listening while coming from office on one of the news channel.
Okay.
Uh, so I just correlated it,
Hmm.
from the perspective that Vedic philosophy, not exactly in Gita, says that Atma is actually Alpagya. It is having a lesser knowledge, and Paramatma is actually absolute knowledge. So from knowledge perspective, there is a distance. We are less knowledge, and Paramatman is having the absolute knowledge, and this distance is to be traveled. That is the journey of moksha. The moment
Yeah.
we travel towards more knowledge, absolute towards absolute knowledge, I won't say equal to absolute knowledge, we are traveling towards moksha.
Yeah.
This is the objective. This is one of the goal of yoga of knowledge, or gyan yoga, right? So
True.
in this pursuit, and it applies to karma yoga and bhakti yoga also, in this pursuit, either we are performing, we are enjoying this life, or we are learning something. So this atman is actually acquiring some more knowledge, because we are, Vedic philosophy also says we are drishta. So we have
Yeah.
this power to observe everything. There's a saying that you must, I mean, everyone must have seen this video that we are very tiny in the entire universe, but the
Hmm.
opposite is also true, that the tiniest part has the power to observe the entire universe. On the other hand, the entire matter in the universe cannot observe us.
Yeah.
So this is the power we have.
True.
So it doesn't matter at all. So you perform. If result is favorable, enjoy, no problem. If the result is not favorable, increase your knowledge, which will help towards the absolute knowledge, journey towards the absolute knowledge. So this
Yeah.
is the way.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, and this only beneficial to increase your knowledge, right? And then,
Yeah, of course, of course. So
yeah,
this
maybe
actually all
maybe not in this task, but the next task that comes on your way, maybe that's the
exactly,
stepping stone for that task. You have to
exactly,
learn something
exactly.
now, fail in it, and then get successful at something else. Like,
Yeah,
there are so many startup stories which are like these. There have been people who've lost everything, they've learned
yeah.
millions of lessons, and then
Very true.
succeeded.
Very true.
So this is exactly what you have been
Very true.
pointing out.
Very
So yeah. So we are talking about Gita, and we're talking about challenges, and we are talking about being aligned. So is spirituality very necessary in anyone's life? Because not everyone really thinks about spirituality as a
yeah.
part of life.
See, so we are connected because of some common interest towards the
Yeah.
spirituality. So again, I'm just giving a very simple perspective in the context of Gita. The first part where we discussed about understanding inherent qualities. So
Yeah.
we when we try to know outside ourselves, we discover materialistic science. When we
Hmm.
try to discover inside ourselves, something inside ourselves, we call it a spiritual science. So this
Correct.
is simple differentiation, and both science are unlimited. Uh, we logically we are convinced, we can debate at length that science is logic, and whatever materialistic science is there is actually, we can perceive, we can experience, and easy to comprehend. But the inner science is very difficult to comprehend. It needs faith. It
Mm.
needs some framework where you have, some, some conditioning of your mind to get inclined in that direction. So that
Right.
is a kind of conviction you need to know yourself from inside. So spirituality is helpful or not helpful. It depends on the individual. If I'm trying to, let me give my own example, my own, reflections. If I'm trying to understand myself, I'll understand my strengths in better way. I'll utilize those strengths in much better way in whatever even materialistic task I'm performing every day.
Yeah.
So by inclining inward, understanding myself, understanding my core, actually is also helping in my materialistic pursuit. So what is the harm, getting
Yeah.
towards this? The only
True.
thing is, people may debate that it's not proven. So that debate will exist
Mhm.
because uh, the only one thing which we can experience is the realization of the self, that there is some identity inside this body, and that
Yeah.
identity is, at least we can experience, which doesn't need any proof. So that is enough to be spiritually inclined. That is my view. I don't have any specific answer to this. It's a choice. It's an individual choice.
Yeah. No, because we see people being atheists, and people saying that we only do good karmas, and we do hear these things. But being spiritually inclined is an aspect that I think we all are, but we some know and some don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's good. So thank you so much, Santosh. That was my questions, and thank you for giving your time. I know it's so late in India right now, but before you leave us, do you have anything for our viewers who are watching you and who will, of course, be watching you after this is telecasted?
Yes, of course, of course. So the first thing, thank you for joining this talk and listening to me. Again, I don't have any authority on Gita. Gita is very vast subject. I have I claim, again, I'm using this word. I claim that I got some understanding on certain aspect which I try to explain in this talk. So, uh, like Krishna has said, he's explained everything to Arjuna, all the ways, all the paths, and lastly he concludes that it's now your choice whether to take it or not. So,
Yeah,
as an individual, we have this choice always with us. Uh, if you have liked it, so my humble suggestion is try to implement it to see the full benefit. If any of the concepts, if you liked it in this talk or from Gita anywhere in any discourse you must have attended anywhere, uh, try to implement it, and then only you would be able to realize it in the entirety. So that is the only suggestion for all of us, and Gita is the wonderful source of knowledge. We don't have to learn anything else than, Gita is everything. I mean, I don't
yeah.
have words to explain this. My belief is that this is the only text which we should read at least 20 times. At least 20
True,
times to understand fully. And
true.
again, fully is a little exaggerated word. Yeah.
Yeah. True. I agree. Like it's it's the way of life. Gita has even today, whatever is written or said by Shri Krishna ji is still valid. And if we remove those from Gita and use it in our life, I think it's only going to get better. And I'm glad that we spoke about this. And I hope we are able to bring this knowledge to more people and help them. So thank you guys, whoever have joined us today. Thank you so much. And thank you, Santosh, again for today. And I hope we can again talk on some another interesting topic soon. So
Of course,
thank
anytime.
you so much.
So it's my pleasure, Flora. Thank you to inviting me, considering me for this talk. Thank you
Thank
so much.
thank you so much. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Bye bye. Good night.
Thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions, please send them across so we can clarify. It's a very vast topic, but we try to break it down and make it some aspects of it across to you, and so that you can benefit from this any other topic from Gita you want us to discuss, please let us know. We'll be happily bringing guests in. And our experts are already there aligned with us. They will come and speak to you on that. So thank you so much for today. We'll see you next week. And happy Karwa Chauth to all the wonderful ladies who've prayed for their husbands today. Bye.